let's do an example involving a percent by volume as an expression of concentration instead of a mass percent or percent by weight, percent by mass. And let's use an example of an alcohol. Let's use an example, isopropyl alcohol. You may recognize this name. Isopropyl alcohol is what's inside. It's not used as a pure substance, but it is what's inside what's called rubbing alcohol, that alcohol that you can buy at a drugstore, and it is actually given in a percent by volume concentration right on the label, which I'll show you after we do this question. In fact, I can tell you what it looks like. It's got 3 carbons, and it has an OH like this. So actually this part, if I cover that part actually looks like almost a water molecule. So that's the part that likes the water and why it dissolves in water. And then this part that's a little more organic-y looking, organic in a chemistry way, right? Kind of oily looking back here. That's the part that doesn't like water so much, but the whole thing is rather small, so it doesn't impede the solubility at high levels. So that's isopropyl alcohol, and yeah, its density as a pure liquid at room temperature is 0.786. It's much less dense than pure water. So if it didn't mix with the water, it would obviously sit on top, but it does. It is miscible. Water and isopropyl alcohol at most concentrations, relative amounts, form a solution. So let's say that we're going to make a solution, and I'll just show you in fact how that's done. So I have this long neck bottle or flask, and it has a flat bottom so it can stand without toppling, and it has a little mark on the glass, and that mark indicates exactly a volume of 250.0 milliliters in this case. So I'm going to do a procedure, and the first thing I do is to add to this flask, I shouldn't say exactly because that actually means something and for sig figs. Add to the flask 37.5 milliliters of the isopropyl alcohol. Okay, so let's say that I did that, and so I put it's not to scale but I put this much liquid in and then I add enough water, enough pure water after that to this flask in order to make 250, so enough to go up to that mark, milliliters now of a solution. And the question is, what is the concentration of this solution? And I want my answer to be in a percent by volume. Excuse me. So I added enough water and mixed it up. So now I have exactly that volume of solution. Well, the concentration in a volume percent is what? How do I figure that out? Well, it's supposed to be the volume of isopropyl alcohol in, and let's say it's mils, in 100 mils of solution. So that's what we're asking. What is this? If there's 37.5 in 250, then how many milliliters are in 100 ml solution? That's what I want to know. And so I could do the cross multiplication, or I could just say 100 exact milliliters of solution multiplied by the rate that I do know. I know that in 250.0 milliliters of solution, I have 37.5 milliliters of this isopropyl alcohol. And so my milliliters of solution will cancel out, and I get this number. Let's do it on the calculator. So I have 37.5 times 100 divided by 250. And that is 15. I'm going to put 15.0, 3 sig figs. That's milliliters of isopropyl alcohol. So I have 15 milliliters of isopropyl alcohol in 100 mils of solution. So then what is my volume percent? Well, that's exactly the information I need to know. The volume, percent by volume isopropyl alcohol in this solution is the number of mils of isopropyl alcohol in 100 milliliters of solution. So I have 15.0 milliliters of isopropyl alcohol in 100 milliliters of solution. That's what I just found out. And so here's my question to you, and here's where people tend to slip up if they're going to get confused here at all. And so I made a solution. I put 37.5 mils of isopropyl alcohol in 250 mils of solution. So I took that as a conversion factor and multiplied by 100 mils of solution, and that allowed this to cancel, and I got this value. But what is that value? Well, that is the corresponding volume of isopropyl alcohol to 100 mils solution. In other words, that is the volume of isopropyl alcohol in 100 mils of solution, which is precisely the ratio that I want to express as volume percent. And so I put, there's 15 mils of isopropyl alcohol per 100 mils of solution. So now, here's the question. Is this solution 15.0 volume percent, or is it 15.0 divided by 100, 0.150 volume percent? Which one is it? Oops. Which one is it? Is it 15% or 0.15%? Well, if you were given this information, if I told you that the solution was 15% by volume isopropyl alcohol, and you wanted to make that into a conversion factor, you would write that there's 15 mils of isopropyl alcohol per 100 mils of solution, whereas this one you would write that there was 0.150 milliliters of isopropyl alcohol per 100 mils of solution. So in fact, this is not it. So don't divide by 100 by mistake. This is exactly what it is. So you could have done this in a cross multiplication as well. If there's 37.5 and 250, how many are there when 100? And you would have gotten the number of 15. So there is 15 mils in 100. That is 15 per 100%. And so my answer is 15.0 volume percent isopropyl alcohol. That's my solution.